Bandeham Shiguro Shiyata Parakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavam Scha Shirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shiranha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Scha Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyanajana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Gorva Bistam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shirupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyat Bhagavad Premna Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanavananam Balarka Chilanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyasishwara Sridharam Vanshakapatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratabhishe Namah. So we're continuing with our reading from Sri Shikshastakam, the 8 original verses by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is with translation and commentary by Srila Bhakti Rakshira Dev Goswami Maharaj. Tonight we're going to read the 3rd of the Shikshastaka, and this is entitled Humbler Than a Blade of Grass. And this was a verse that Srila Govinda Maharaj would always quote everywhere. So, Trinadapi Sunichenar Taror Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One who is humbler than a blade of grass, more forbearing than a tree, who gives due honor to others without desiring it for himself, is qualified to always chant the holy name of Krishna. One who is humbler than a blade of grass, more forbearing than a tree, who gives due honor to others without desiring it for himself, is qualified to always chant the holy name of Krishna. So, illumination by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We should mainly couch ourselves in this mood. We should think of ourselves as the meanest of the mean. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given his analysis of the meaning of this verse as follows. Even a blade of grass has its value, but we do not even have as much value as a blade of grass. We have no positive value. It is one thing if a man is not educated, but a madman is worse than uneducated. He can think, but only abnormally. Therefore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I have some consciousness, some intelligence, but it is all misdirected. A blade of grass has no misdirection. When trampled upon, it has no tendency to spring back in the opposite direction. A blade of grass can be blown here and there by a storm or by the external environment, but I will always be reluctant to go in a particular direction. If the waves of the environment want to take me in a particular direction, I'll try to oppose them. If you really consider my value, my position is lower than a blade of grass because I have an opposing tendency. When we want to bring ourselves in a closer relationship with the infinite goodness, we should think, I have no value. Rather, my value is negative. It is my tendency to oppose the Lord's grace. If Krishna wants to grace me, I try to resist. I am constituted of such an element that I commit spiritual suicide. Krishna comes to grace me, but I oppose him. The energy that is within me tries for suicide. This is my position, but a blade of grass won't oppose anyone. I have such a nasty position. We must realize that we are in such a predicament. With this concern, we may accept the goodness of the absolute truth in the form of his holy name. We should not think that the path will be very smooth. So many troubles may come from outside. When the devotees go to chant Hare Krishna in the street, many people come and shout, "Hey, you monkeys, red-faced monkeys." Now that remark is very common in Bengal. When you go out, people call you, especially if you're from the West, they'll call you red monkeys. So we should not think that the path will be very smooth. So many troubles may come from outside. When the devotees go to chant Hare Krishna in the street, many people come and shout, "Hey, you monkeys, red-faced monkeys." So many forms of hindrances and opposition will come and try to affect us, to dissuade us from this path. But we must practice forbearance like that of a tree. Why has the example of a tree been given? It has been analyzed in this way. If no one pours any water on a tree, it does not protest. "Oh, give me water." If anyone comes to disturb the tree, snatching its leaves, cutting its branches, or even chopping it down, a tree remains silent. It gives no opposition. We should try to see how insult, poverty, punishment, or other unfavorable dealings are necessary to purify us. And with minimal punishment, we shall be released from material existence. Through Krishna consciousness, we have connected with the highest object of life, the highest fulfillment of life. What price are we ready to pay for that? It is inconceivable. Whatever little demands may be extracted from us, we must accept with a smiling face, considering the highest goal. If we are really confident, if we have faith in our bright future, then we can gladly pay what little price nature wants to take from us. Krishna, I shall teach you a lesson. Once Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, the spiritual master of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was going through the town of Navadip, begging a little rice from different houses. The village people sometimes attack or insult devotees, and as he was going to his quarters, they did not spare even such an exalted soul. Some boys were pelting him with stones and throwing dirt at him, and he remarked, "Krishna, you are cruelly dealing with me. I shall complain to your mother Yashoda about you." That was his outlook, and in that way he harmonized everything. We should learn to see Krishna in anything that comes to disturb or attack us. In philosophical calculation, of course, without God's will, nothing can happen. But in a concrete way, a devotee sees, "Oh Krishna, you are backing these children. You are disturbing me, and I shall teach you a lesson. I know how to deal with you. I shall complain to Mother Yashoda, and she will chastise you." The advanced devotees are established in the consciousness that Krishna is behind everything, and they take everything in that way. This attitude is our beacon light, for it will guide us to adjust ourselves with those things that are apparently unfavorable to us. A sweet adjustment is found there, and so we are advised to be more tolerant than a tree. We may not give any opposition, still opposition will come to disturb us, and we must forbear. And we must show our respect to others. Prestige is the greatest and most subtle enemy of the devotee of Krishna. Pride is the worst enemy for the devotee of Krishna, and pride ultimately takes one to the conclusion of the Mayavadis, the Manas. They say, "Soham, I am," not Dashoham, I am subordinate, but I am the supreme element, I am that, I am he, eliminating from their consideration the fact that we are tiny and suffering in misery. All these practical things are ignored by the Mayavadis, the impersonalists. But position or ego pratishta is our worst enemy. In this verse, we are advised to deal with prestige and position in a special way. So in the previous verse of the Shikshastakam, we heard that we heard that the Nam Namakari Bahuda Nijasar Sarvar Shaktis Tatrarpita Nimita Smaranena Kala Hitadrishi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrisham Ihajani Nanuraga. No. Let's see. The second verse. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarvar Shaktis Tatrarpita Nimita Smaranena Kala Itadrishi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Idrisham Ihajani Nanuraga. O my Lord, your holy name bestows auspiciousness upon all, and you have unlimited names such as Krishna and Govinda, by which you reveal yourself. In your many holy names, you have kindly invested all your transcendental potency. And in chanting these names, there are no strict rules concerning time or place. Out of your causeless mercy, you have descended in the form of divine sound. But my great misfortune is that I have no love for your holy name. So in that previous verse, we heard something of which is expressed in this third verse of the Shikshastakam, meaning, namely, a sense of being unqualified. In that verse, you've given, Krishna, you've given so much of your mercy in the form of your holy names. But I am such a fallen soul that I have no attraction for the chanting of your holy names. You're giving everything, and and you're not making any rules and conditions for taking your holy name, but because of my offenses, I don't have an attraction for your holy name. So there is the beginning of something of what we hear in this verse from tonight, of one's feeling unqualified. Trinada pisuni chena taror iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That one should feel oneself lower than the straw in the street, or lower than the grass, more tolerant than a tree, and able to offer respect to others without asking for respect in return. So there's a feeling there of one should feel oneself to be fallen. And as Srila Guru Maharaj says, from that sense of feeling fallen, from the sense of being unqualified, we can say that is the negative. To feel oneself, I'm always in a low position. And that sense of being unqualified is negative, and that will attract the positive. The negative is attracting the positive. So what is the negative? The negative is humility. By one sense of not thinking as the Mayavadis that I am he, or what is it? The devotees are saying, dasosmi. I'm the servant of the Lord, but the Mayavadis are not saying like that. They are saying, soham, I am. So smamaham, I am he. Somsmyamaham, I am he, I am the Lord. That is arrogance, but it's rather the feeling of feeling oneself to be unqualified. That can attract the positive or the mercy of the Lord. And I remember my godbrother Shutashrava. He used to sign letters. He used to sign letters as Dina. What was it? Dinodam. That Dino means fallen soul. Dinodam. I'm a fallen soul. He used to sign like that his letters. That is a very nice way feeling when I'm Dino. Just as I was saying yesterday, or the day before yesterday rather, that there's from the Prapana Jivanamrita, it's remarked that when I heard that the Lord is Bhakta Vatsala, I became very discouraged, very, very depressed. What is that? Bhaktavatsala means the Lord is very much inclined to his devotees, Bhaktavatsala. But the person who's quoting that, who's saying, I can't consider myself to be a bhakta. I can't consider myself to be a devotee. So when I heard that the Lord is known as Bhaktavatsala, he favors his devotees, I was very depressed. But when I heard that the Lord is known as Dinabandhu, or Dinabandhu, or what is that? We have another devotee, another Dina. His name is Dinabandhu, or well, we had Dinatihara, but the other devotee is also named with Dina, meaning Dinabandhu, friend of the fallen, is Dinabandhu. So when I heard the Lord is known as Dinabandhu, then I became very hopeful, because then I heard the Lord is the friend of the fallen. And when thinking of, I'm not a devotee, so Bhaktavatsala discourages me. But when I hear the Lord's known as Dinabandhu, or Dinanath, like that, he's the Lord of the fallen, then I feel very encouraged. So the previous verse gives us some idea of the value of feeling oneself to be unqualified. And this verse also continues. One should feel oneself to be lower than the straw in the street, or more tolerant than a tree, and able to give respect to others without asking for respect in return. And the example we heard of Gaur Kishore, he is being mistreated, but he's not thinking that he's not thinking of this as just some children are being mean to him. Rather, he's thinking, I know how to stop this. You're behind this, Krishna, and I'm going to complain to Mother Yashoda about you. So he's seeing it, even the way that small children or the way children are throwing rocks at him. He sees that Krishna's behind that. So he sees this all in a loving relationship with the Lord. Oh, you're being naughty, Krishna, and I'll put a stop to this. So the slave area of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you must not desire respect from anyone or even from the environment itself. At the same time, you must give prestige to everyone and everything in the environment according to its position. Show respect, but don't desire any respect from outside. We must be very particular about this, for pride is our hidden enemy, our worst enemy. If we somehow avoid or conquer this enemy, we will be able to enter into the slave area of Krishna and join those who have given their lives wholesale in sacrifice to him. The general meaning of this verse is, never seek position or prestige from any quarter. At the same time, give honor to one and all according to your understanding. A great insult. When our spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, went to Vrindavan in the early 1930s, he rode in a motor car. In those days, this was unheard of for a saint. Saints would travel everywhere by foot. They wouldn't go in motor cars. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a motor car. In those days, this was unheard of for a saint. One day, a priest insulted our guru by deprecating the position of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, the preceptor of our highest conception of spiritual achievement. He boasted, we are not only residents of the holy land of Vrindavan, we are not only residents of the Holy Land, but members of the caste of high priests, Brahmins. Therefore, we can offer our benedictions to Das Goswami. He was born in a low-class family, and he himself asked such a benediction from us. Of course, in great humility, Das Goswami once prayed, Goro Goshte Goshtal Laishu Sujane Pusha Sura Gane Goro Goshte Goshtal Laishu Sujane Busa Sura Gane Swamantre Shrinamni Brajanava Yuva Dvandva Sharane Sada Dambam Hitva Kururatim Apurvam Atitaram Aye Swantara Bratas Chatubir Abhiyache Dritapadaha. O mine, my brother, I fall at your feet and implore you. Give up all pride and always taste ecstatic love while remembering the divine guide, the holy abode of Vrindavan, the cowherds and milkmaids of Vraja, the loving devotees of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The gods on earth are pure Brahmins. The Gayatri Mantra, the holy names of Sri Krishna, and the divine youthful couple of Vraja, Shishi Radha Govinda Sundar. That priest remarked, we are residents of the holy abode of Vrindavan and Brahmins as well, so we are in a position to give benediction to Raghunath Das Goswami. Upon hearing those words, our Guru Maharaj, who was at Radhakund at the time, began fasting. He remarked, I have to hear this? This fellow is under the control of lust and anger and greed, and he says that he can show his grace to Das Goswami, the most respected preceptor in our line, and I am to hear that? Without retaliating against his remarks, he decided to fast. We also stopped eating, and our whole camp began fasting. Then a local gentleman who came to know that the whole camp was fasting managed to find the blasphemous priest and bring him to our Guru Maharaj. The priest begged to be pardoned. Our Guru Maharaj was satisfied, and after showing him some respect, finally broke his fast. At the time, someone told our Guru Maharaj, they are all ignorant fools. Why should you be so much affected by his words? You should ignore it. Our Guru Maharaj said, if I were an ordinary Babaji and heard such a remark, I could simply cover my ears and go away. But I am playing the part of an acharya, one who teaches by example. What justification do I have for riding in a motor car if I do not oppose the remarks against my Gurudev? Repeatedly he used this expression. Why am I driving a motor car here in Vrindavan? He said, had I been a Nishkinchana Babaji, a saint living in seclusion and wearing only a loincloth, I would have given no opposition to this man. To save myself, I would simply leave the place and go elsewhere. But because I am riding in a big motor car in the post of an acharya, a teacher, I must defend the dignity of the great devotees. I have accepted the charge and can't evade these circumstances. I must face it and do everything in my power that such things may not go on undetected or unopposed. Humility must be adjusted or modified in its practical application. Once when a Hare Krishna temple was attacked, a gun was used by the devotees to defend the temple. Later there was a complaint among the local people. They said, oh, they are humble, they are tolerant. Why have they crossed the advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree? They can't be devotees. So many complaints were coming to me, but I defended them by saying, no, they have done rightly. The instruction to be humbler than a blade of grass means one should be humble to the devotee, not to a madman. The general class of men are ignorant. They are mad. They do not know what is good or bad, so their consideration has no value. Who is qualified to judge whether a devotee is offering respect to all and not expecting any for himself? Who will judge whether he is really humble and tolerant? Madmen? Ignorant people? Have they any sense to judge who is humble, who is tolerant, and who is respectful to others? There must be a standard by which to judge humility. We're interested in the criterion given by higher thinkers, not the consideration of the ignorant masses. So this was Srila Sridhar Maharaj said this in respect to when an ISKCON temple in Mayapur was attacked by people who came there. You know, they came there to steal, and they came there with weapons. So the devotees had a shotgun or something, and they didn't kill anybody, but they made some noise. And then later the devotees were leaders of the devotees were arrested, and people were saying, what kind of humility and offering respect to others and tolerance is this? That they dissipate, they get the people, to scare the people with a shotgun. But those people were coming to rob, and they were coming with... So anyway, Srila Sridhar Maharaj here says that who is to judge what is humility, offering respect to others, and tolerance? A madman? Somebody who has no devotion? Somebody who's a thief or somebody who commits violence? They're the judge? So Guru Maharaj said, no, it's not like this. But the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is also very nice. And here, actually in this book, there's a beautiful picture of Srila Saraswati Thakur sitting in the back of an old, very aristocratic-looking old car. And, it looks like, that's very nice. And it's got a fold-down top and everything. You can see. It's a very beautiful picture. Anyway, when somebody said, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami said, we are in a position, we are the Brahmins, we can give benedictions to even Das Goswami. And then because Das Goswami had said that he would take benedictions from the Brahmins of Vrindavan, so that Brahmin said, we're in a position to give benedictions to Das Goswami. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur fasted when he heard that. And everybody with him fasted until that person could be brought back and ask for forgiveness. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur expressed a little appreciation to the Brahmin, but at the same time, then he stopped fasting. And someone said, well, why did you give so much importance to him? Srila Saraswati Thakur said, well, if I had not been a charya, if I had not been a teacher, if I had not been riding in a motor car, then I could just walk away and ignore this person and go away if I was just a Babaji. But he says, no, I've taken a position as a charya. I'm teaching. And otherwise, why am I riding in a motor car if I'm not going to show what is the proper standard? I have to teach others by my example. And he kept on saying that. Why am I riding in a motor car if I will not take any action to protect the dignity of our line? Then that is the way, and he showed it. He was fasting, the other devotees fasting. And it wasn't until that Brahmin asked for forgiveness. So, the standard of humility. Of course, anyone may deceive the ordinary public with superficial humility, but a show of humility is not real humility. It must come from the heart, and it must have a real purpose. Everything, humility, tolerance, and pridelessness, must be considered by the judgment of a standard normal person, not by the ignorant, who are like elephants, tigers, and jackals. Should they be allowed to judge what is humility? What is audacity and impertinence? Of course not. Should a devotee think the deity in the temple is about to be molested, but I shall stand by and do nothing? I should be humble and tolerant. A dog is entering the temple. I should show him respect. No, this is not real humility. If the deity if the temple and the deity are attacked, one should not just be humble. Oh, welcome. No, one has to take action. If a dog is entering the temple, I should show him respect. No, you should chase the dog out of the temple. We must have a normal conception of reality. We must not allow these anomalies to continue in the name of offering respect to others. We must not think that we may allow anyone to harm the devotees or molest the temple, that we shall allow the dog to enter the temple, and by doing this, we are humble and tolerant. We are showing all respect to others. We're not interested only in the physical meaning of the scriptures, but the real meaning. We're not interested in just some superficial understanding. We're interested in what is substance, what is the real meaning of the scriptures. That I am humble means that I am the slave of a Vaishnava, das anudas. But that I am humble means I am the slave of a Vaishnava. I am the servant of a servant. With that consciousness, we must proceed. If anyone comes to molest my master, I should first sacrifice myself, thinking, because I am the least importance, my sacrifice is no loss. I must sacrifice myself to maintain the dignity of my guru, the devotees, and my Lord and his family. We must always understand what is to be honored. We offer our respects to the highest truth, the Lord of Lords. Our dealings should be in consonance with that. If we always keep the highest conception of relativity within us, we will see that we are the lowest. If there is danger to our guardians, we shall sacrifice ourselves. All of this should be taken into account when trying to understand the meaning of humility, not physical imitation, but genuine humility. It is a question of practical realization. Fame and honor must be given to the Lord and his devotees, not to anyone else. So if someone comes to disturb my guru, I must protect my guru. If someone comes to disturb the temple or the devotees, I shall try to rise up and stop that person, even if it means sacrificing myself. That is our consideration. In the higher stages of devotion, of course, humility may have to be adjusted in another way for the Paramahamsa Babajis, the topmost swan-like saints who have given up all connection with this material world. But in the preaching stage, the second-class devotee must accept things differently. As our Guru Maharaj said, had I been in the role of a Babaji, a non-assertive, reclusive saint, I would have walked away from the place without offering any opposition. But when we are preaching and have taken the responsibility of leading so many souls to the domain of the Lord, our adjustment must be made accordingly. Generally, we may be indifferent to those who are personally inimical to us, but when we preach on behalf of the Lord in an organized way, our duty changes. We cannot be indifferent to antagonists. It is mentioned in the scripture by Jiva Goswami that according to one's own particular status, these things should be taken into consideration, and the necessary things should be done. He has given his decision that if the devotee has a position of power, if he is a king, and if someone repeatedly blasphemes a real Vaishnava or saintly person, then the king should enforce corporal punishment by banishing the offender from his state or by cutting out his tongue, Vaishnava Nindaka Jiva Hata. That is not the duty for ordinary persons. If they act in such a way, there will be a riot. We should not be eager to inflict physical punishment upon anyone. So that's not the standard for us to take, rather that we will banish somebody or cut out their tongue. We cannot do that. But if somebody were in the times, Vedic times, if he were a king and somebody was blaspheming the Lord or his devotees, then this kind of action could be taken to stop that blasphemy. So it's not unreasonable. Of course, in modern times, people can't accept that. They won't be able to understand it. They'll think, oh, corporal punishment, what is this? They can't do that. They can't. This is cruel, this is inhumane. But this was what the standard of a Vaishnava king or Guru Maharaj once told a story about that. But anyway, I'll leave that for another time. So anyway, Hanuman is a Vaishnava, but he is seen to destroy so many lives. The same is true of Arjuna and so many other devotees. Even Krishna and Ramachandra are also seen to kill so many demons in war. Simply a physical show of meekness does not constitute the real meaning of humility. When there is insult to the Guru or the Vaishnavas, A devotee will oppose the blasphemers according to his might. Bhakti Vinod Thakur in one of his songs says that we should not only tolerate the evil doings of others and a disturbing environment, but we should do good to those by whom we are being tortured. The example is given of a tree. One who is cutting the tree gets shade and comfort from the tree, even while cutting it down. In conclusion, he says that humility, mercy, respect for others, and renunciation of name and fame are the 4 qualifications for chanting the holy name of Krishna. In conclusion, humility, mercy, respect for others, and renunciation of name and fame are the 4 qualifications for chanting the holy name of Krishna. We are the meanest of the mean. We should always be conscious that we are beggars. We should think, although I am a beggar, I've come to beg for the highest thing. Let no disturbance dissuade me from my attempt. At the same time, our attitude towards the environment should be respectful. In this way, by becoming educated in the Krishna conception of divinity, everyone should be given respect according to his position. It is the guiding instruction in the worship of the holy name, Nama Bhajan, that we must take the position of the slave of the slave of the slave of the Lord. If you want to chant the name of Krishna, then don't waste your energy with the trifling things of this world. Don't allow your attention to be disturbed by tiny acquisitions like prestige or gain, which are relative to money or physical comfort. Remember, you are trying for the greatest thing, and all other things are very small in comparison to Krishna consciousness. So don't waste your energy and valuable time. Be economical. You have the chance to achieve the highest goal of life. So this is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's comment on humbler than a blade of grass. Trinadapi sunichena taror iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. One who is humbler than a blade of grass, more forbearing than a tree, who gives due honor to others without desiring it for himself, is qualified to always chant the holy name of Krishna. And as I said, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he said this verse everywhere. Everywhere he went, he talked about humility, offering respect to others, and tolerance. And we also heard him say that anyone can pretend that they're humble. Anyone can pretend to offer respect to others, but it is not so easy to pretend that you are tolerant. You're either tolerant or you're not. And that can show. I can act to be very humble. I can touch somebody's feet and show them respect. I can show respect to others, acting humbly, touching their feet. But as soon as there's some little insult, then I become furious. And that shows that this humility and offering respect to others, it is a little false. But the real proof is that I'm lacking tolerance. It's proving that my show of humility and offering respect to others is a fraud, because when the real test comes of being tolerant, it is very not so easy to fool someone to think you're tolerant. You're either tolerant or you're not, and that's very difficult. You can always show somebody superficial respect. You can always show yourself to be superficially humble. Anyone can pretend like that. But it's not so easy to pretend to be tolerant. But Govinda Maharaj, he really was humble, he offered respect to others, and he was tolerant. Of course, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, this humility, offering respect to others, and tolerance is not by some false standard that you're just showing yourself to be meek and humble. And when the devotee should be protected, that is not the time to just artificially show, oh, this person is come to harm the devotees, and therefore I'll show them respect and I'll be humble. No, that's not the time for that. That's not what really true meekness and humility means, or true humility and tolerance and showing respect. We're not showing respect when the devotees are at, their lives are at stake, or someone's about to harm the temple or the devotees. That shouldn't be the standard of what this verse means. And that's what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur showed when there was an insult to Raghunath Das Goswami. And it also obviously follows that someone comes to harm the devotees or the temple or my Gurudev, then I won't just stand by and watch. Rather, even if I'm naturally somewhat cowardly in the face of danger, still I will not remain idle, or I won't remain passive if someone comes to harm the devotees or the temple, or especially my Gurudev. I remember one devotee complained that he was disillusioned with the activities of who was his guru. And I asked that devotee, I said, I have heard that some people have even come to threaten the life of this guru. Do you believe that or not? And he said, yes, I believe that. And then I said, then why should you judge the guru that you don't think he's tolerant or acting properly? If somebody comes to threaten his life, I would not. I would rather be willing to give myself than to remain idle. And I certainly wouldn't come to judge the devotees in that situation where there is some imminent danger. Because this devotee was basically saying that his guru wasn't being humble and tolerant. And I said, well, why should he be humble and tolerant if somebody's coming to threaten him? That doesn't make any sense to me. I said, do you really think there was some threat? Yes, I believe there was some threat. Then if I thought there was some threat, I would be maybe if I become petrified, but still, I don't think so. I think I would be able to, say, no, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'll kill you. Yeah, you may kill me, but I'm not going to tolerate that you will threaten the devotees or my Gurudev. So, anyway, this verse is very deep. Srila Govinda Maharaj always preached this verse. This was everywhere he went. He talked about Trinada pi sunichena taroriva sahisnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Now it's getting late. I'll stop here. We'll sing Hari Harai. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Yaraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Janardan Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Janardan Shiva Sari Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath H.I. Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan H.I. Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan Javate Vignana Shamista Puran Jai De Vignana Vista Puran Chai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Chai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Tadir Charana Sevi Bhaktastani Bas Tadir Charana Sevi Bhaktastani Bas Janame Janame More Abhilas Janame Janame More Abhilas Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gora Hari Bo 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 Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravaja Kacharyasta Tara Sarashi Shiman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravaja Kacharyasta Tara Sarashi Shiman Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sananda Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Ragana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Premsi Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vishwavarenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda ki jai. Shri Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Dham Mayapur ki jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Kuladvip ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Guna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Sripad Bhakti Bandhava Puri Maharaj ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.